Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. I'm joined as always by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow and former pro and team Bike Exchange DS Matt Wilson, who resides up in where are you now? Noosa. Yeah. How's it all going up there, mate? Doing it tough. I heard you had a week lockdown, didn't you, the other week?
Yeah, that was tough. We got through it though. Out the other side, things are looking good for the moment. But like everywhere, we're just walking on eggshells, waiting for the next case to drop.
Yeah, it's a bit like that now across Australia. But the good thing is, we all know how to get along, particularly the States. I've never felt so connected as an entire country at the moment. It's fantastic. But anyway, we don't want to start the show on talking about COVID and negative stuff. Obviously, big stage overnight, Iffy, and it was an emotional victory because we all know the story of Fabio Jakobsen with his crash at Tour of Poland last year, and fantastic to see him get a well-deserved victory, mate.
It was pretty special, but he is the quickest man here, actually, when you look at the way he's been going of late. But what I thought was really special when he crossed the line was the way that everyone wanted to come up and congratulate him, not just his teammates, but his opposition, even Jasper Philipsen and all the other guys, different countries, just wanted to come up and congratulate him because it's such a look. He's a fantastic guy. Matty can probably comment on that because he'd know him better than us. But his story, near-death experience, to come back and come right back to the top is pretty special.
What do you think, Matty?
Yeah, mate, I don't know him at all, actually, Iffy. But, yeah, I mean, to come back from a crash like that is impressive. And, yeah, I think everyone was just wrapped for him to see him get there.
But is that the thing, Matty, is the cycling community, including the peloton and the bunch, I mean, there is this sort of universal support. I mean, you're all competitors, but when you see a victory like that, I mean, that all just teams go out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone knows what it's like trying to be a pro, and everyone's in the same battles more or less. So, and yeah, there's a healthy respect there. So people know having a crash like that, what's involved, and no one wants to see people crash and hurt themselves like that. So to seeing someone come back at that level, everyone gets behind it.
Do you think what makes it even more impressive, Iffy, is the fact that it was such a traumatic crash, but it was in a bunch sprint, to get over that sort of mentally and then to not lose sort of the edge, because there have been riders in the past that have had a bad crash in a sprint and they're never quite the same rider.
Very true, and pretty hard when you are a road sprinter. You got to come back to road sprinting. Yeah. And I've been reading a lot of his quotes in the lead up, and he says, he's a bit cautious, but he's not scared, And he said, but I always was a little bit cautious. If it was a tight fit, I wouldn't go through it. Like Robbie would just go through the gap no matter what, before or after a crash. That's how he was built. Fabio says he's not that way. But look, I think what's most impressive is the fact, that was so serious. It was life, threatening. He was in a coma for quite a while. All the reconstruction of his face. I mean,
we spoke to Nathan Haas about it, who saw it, and it was traumatic for anyone that witnessed it, that was there on the ground.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it was, and so I think the beautiful story is how he's come back and how his statement just before the start of the race is, I'm back in the top 6 sprinters in the world. So he made the statement. He wasn't messing around, we'll see how it goes type thing, take each day as it comes. I hate that crap. No, he came out, made the statement, and he's not a braggart in any way. He just felt that his form was good. He had a couple of great stage wins in the Tour of Pologne. And, it was fantastic. And Demar had the perfect lead out, was going, and we know how quick he is, and he just waited and went bang, put a length into him. So pretty quick.
Now, before the show, you like to think that you're the master at predicting stage winners. You all chips in on Bling. He didn't quite have the speed, and what do you put that down to? Wasn't quite hard enough?
Exactly. We were into, you put the map up, we saw that little ramp at the end, and I thought, that uphill finish like that is perfect for him. But it was really a sprinter's finish. It was nowhere near as tough as what we had thought it was going to be. And there was a big corner inside the last about a K and a half to go. That wasn't near as tight as we thought it was going to be either. So we thought it was going to slow them down. They're going to hit this hill and it was going to be a really tough man sprint. But it wasn't. It was the fast boys. And, Bling's not going to beat them. And he's not going to beat them tonight either. Tonight's deadpan, look, flat as chit Carter's hat, as they say. Or words to that effect. And, and he just won't beat them, even though Mezgec is doing them absolutely perfect lead-outs. No one's got a big train in this Vuelta like they do at the Tour. So they're all been caught a bit short. But Bling's having to do it with just one lead-out with Mezgec, and Mezgec is great. He just gets him right in the right spot. Every day he's done that exactly right. But Michael's just not quick enough to beat these guys. He might occasionally get a third, fourth, fifth. But when we get to a stage where it is a really tough finish, or even tougher coming into finish, where they can get spat, that's where Michael will do his thing.
Well, Buster's got one for you, Matty. Mezgec looked great in the lead out for Bling today. With today's stage being a flat one, is it worth Bike Exchange giving him a chance for this one?
Oh, look. Lucas fast. He's seriously fast. He can win stages himself. There's no doubt about it. I think Bling's been brought to the team obviously to win races and hasn't won one this year. So I think the pressure will be on him, and he's obviously coming to the Vuelta with good form. So I don't see them changing it up anytime soon. The interesting thing about tonight's stage is really the wind, though, and that's what can play a difference for them. I think if it's blowing harder than it's expected.
So is that just a matter of obviously being in good position, but is that better for Bling and Bike Exchange if it is harder?
Anything that can throw a spanner in the works and mix things up and potentially eliminate some fast guys is beneficial for Bike Exchange for sure.
What is the key, Matty?
But just answering that last question as well, just going over that, because someone threw that question in last night. If they try to reverse it, who's going to put Mezgec into position? I mean, it's not what Michael Matthews can do. Fighting through the bunch and getting you into the right spot is not what Michael's going to do. So just reversing it wouldn't work. That's the other thing. We said it last night.
But I was going to say, like, the other problem with that is the mental effect it would have on Bling. Like flipping it round when there is a stage coming up that is a good one for him. I mean, Matty, is it all about trying to keep momentum going and trying to be positive, particularly given it's a 3-week race?
Yeah, look, I'm obviously not involved in the team plans, so I don't know what their idea is. There's plenty of examples of teams with two sprinters mixing it up and giving each other chances. You saw it with Alpecin during the Tour de France this year. Didn't quite work out for them, but yeah, there's plenty of examples of it. But I think given Bling's good form and he's come pretty close twice, I can't see them changing it. And to answer your question about getting a lead out, it's not. People think it's absolutely essential, but there's plenty of examples of guys winning races without a lead out as well. Mm-hmm. And he is that sort of guy. He's crafty. He can. It's almost a hindrance for him having to lead people out to get into position because he's got to move slowly and he's got to move carefully and he's got to move in the wind and everything's gradual. Where if he's by himself, he can just charge through the middle and put himself where he needs to be.
Yeah, true. Now, I just want to do touch. We talked about the respect everyone had for Fabio Jakobsen coming back from his terrible crash. But I've just been going back before we come on air, Matty, about some of your history, because I can remember you as an 18-year-old ducking and weaving the Sun Tour, almost winning the stage into, I think it was Yarrawonga or Echuca or somewhere like that. Remember that day?
Yeah, I do. Yep. I can't remember where it was, but yeah.
I think it might have been Yarrawonga. And I think the last roundabout, you come unstuck. But if I remember rightly, that's how close it was. You're up the road.
Yeah, I jumped away in the last K with Physics, I think it was, from Rabobank. Yeah. And I led it into the roundabout and just dropped myself.
Well, what I was going to get to, you, not long after that, you were going really well. You were only about 18 then, I think. By the time you a year or so, you're starting to really go well. You got Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a. Can you tell us a bit about that and the challenges you had?
Oh yeah, look, it's a bit of a long story, but I guess when I was racing with the under-23 team with Shane Bannon in Italy, and did a few years there, and it wasn't happening back then. It was pretty hard to crack into the pros as an Aussie, especially in Italy, and I gave it away, and I wasn't feeling that great. And I went to the doctors a couple of times, and nothing really came of it. And then eventually, I went to a doctor who saw a lump in my neck and did a biopsy, and it was cancer. So that was a big shock, and I think it was about a year dealing with that in one way or another, and sort of got to the stage where I was starting to get healthy again, and by that stage he had turned pro, and he was telling me, he said, you got to come back. It's different now, and I wasn't particularly enjoying what I was doing, so I said, no, that's it. Okay, I made the decision, and I was going to give it 1 year.
What were you doing at the time that you didn't enjoy?
Oh, look, I had several jobs. I was in a bar. I was in a kebab shop. I was in a
making kebabs.
Fair enough. You need to get back on the bike.
nothing sexy, that's for sure. So, yeah, got a one-way ticket to Europe. Found a sponsor that gave me $5,000 right at the end, and I was able to buy my bike and stuff like that to race. And that was the year I turned pro.
What do you think the key during that period, Matty, in terms of mindset to push through that really tough period?
I think in those few years before cancer, I really had an idea that this wasn't what I should be doing, or there was always doubts. And, I kind of had a feeling that what was on the other side of the fence was better. And I think when I got a taste of the real world and working and cancer and all those sort of things, it became pretty crystal clear that wasn't the case. And I also had a mindset after that I didn't really, I had no baggage. I didn't really care anymore. Like if that could happen, and you could get cancer from being the healthiest person in the world, well, it didn't matter to me anymore. I was just going to go out and give it a crack. And I was a lot angrier person, I guess, on the bike, and a lot happier person off the bike. Which made all the difference, especially when I came back that year. I was racing in Belgium as well, where, if you had the balls to do it and you wanted it bad enough, you could put yourself in position and have a go. Where racing, 55 kilogram climbers in the 90s in Italy was never going to happen.
Yeah. We're talking about it.
Sorry, mate. I just say you joined FDJ, and Mark Matteo was, and it was like the Australian mafia in there, because it was yourself and Cookie and Bradley McGee. It was fantastic. But Mark Matteo was so impressed when he heard that you had to sell your car and sell your bike and max out your credit cards just to get to Europe, that he started to use that in his motivational speeches with the riders. Is that correct?
It's the first I've heard of it. If that is correct, did he tell you that? Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I thought you might have been a part of it. Yeah.
First I've heard of it.
You should start charging.
That was right back then. Back when he was in love with the Aussies. He fell out of love with the Aussies for a while, but I think they're back now. Yeah.
I think there's something in that, when you sort of burn your bridges behind you and you've got no plan B and you've got no safety net, I think you get a little bit more out of yourself. And, I think that was certainly happening in my case. And, that being said, things that I'm involved with now with development of riders, I'm going quite the other way. I don't think that's a really healthy attitude to have, but there's certainly something in it.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. Your role now is around developing young riders and that. How much has it changed how you have to deal with young riders? We've had Will Walker on, and we're talking about how their race programs are different. How much has it changed from when you were a pro to the support they get now?
It's very different. I mean, the pathways now are very well worn. very, very well trodden. So people know how to get there, and Aussies are very much on the map now as far as cycling talent goes. So in that regards, it's very different, and it's also very different in the way young riders are treated and young riders are developed. I mean, back when I turned pro, even when you turned pro, you were told what to do by the boss, and then you did it or you didn't do it and you got blasted, and that was basically it. And, you had a coach helping you go through, and if you made it, you made it. Nowadays, you've got managers and you've got agents and you've got coaches and you've got well-being people, and, a lot of support, and, but going with that, you're seeing young riders now coming out, 18, 20 years old, and, within a year or two, or sometimes even in the first year, they're winning, massive races, and people winning Tour de France's in their first attempt nowadays.
I was just going to mention one thing. You were really close with Baden Cook. You two were best buds from very early days. He got you back over to Europe, and your teammates with him at FDJ, and in the Unibet team, which looked to be fantastic, but all politics got in the way. But let's go back to last night.
Cookie.
Cookie. in Survivor. He got I thought, you put this bird away in this bloody battle of bloody strength, but it didn't turn out that way. Her lightweight, he fell off the pole.
I have been watching it, but I haven't seen that episode yet. So thanks, Iffy.
Last night, mate.
Could you imagine international audiences trying to decipher what Iffy just said? That's right. He's trying to put this bird away. He got shafted. John, he was voted out. He got a second chance. He was doing a challenge. And the challenge was to hold on to a big wooden log, and there was a string of rope around it. Who could hold on the longest? And he was up against a female competitor who weighed half his weight, and she wasn't getting off that thing for at least 2 hours.
Isn't that what I just said? I just said that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Jeez. Polish it up, mate. So we've spoiled it for you, but how much contact have you had with Cookie since this Survivor's landed? Because I spoke to him only a couple of days ago, and I said, mate, do you get stopped in the street? He goes, oh, yeah. No, there's some pretty keen Survivor nutters out there. They love it. So yeah, he's getting recognised all the time.
Yeah, we've had a few calls. It's definitely different, I think. Yeah.
Is it weird, like you've seen earlier episodes, but it must have been weird seeing a guy that you know really well on reality TV?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it could have gone two ways with Baden, he's such a personality, such a big personality, and you don't know how the show is going to reflect that. But I think he's come across really well, and I haven't seen obviously him getting voted out, but I knew that he didn't win it, that's for sure. It's weird, that's for sure.
So Iffy, let's talk about early days of the Tour of Spain, because how many times did you get to ride the Vuelta España, Matty?
I think 3. We directed a couple.
What were your standout memories from that race?
Always enjoyed it. It was always the most relaxed of the 3 Grand Tours, which was great. It's always interesting courses. The races generally stages a bit shorter. Just a great tour, really.
And bloody hot.
I remember one year, I think it was 2011, it must have been, and there was a team time trial start right down south. Forget the name of the place, but our start time was 11:30 at night. 11:30 at night, because it was so hot. And Julian Dean actually crashed in the warm-up in the team time trial, took skin off on every part of his body, and then we're in the south of Spain. It was like 45 to 47 degrees every day, and he's just fully encased in bandages that just stunk. You can smell him coming through the bunch.
Was that Garmin days?
That was with Garmin. Yeah, we were just warming up, and he just swung off to do a turn, and there was a lip on the gutter which he didn't see, and he just ploughed into it at full speed, took skin off. Yeah.
Ben Jensen's got a comment. He says, "G'day, good day in G-Town. I've picked Arnold Demar tonight. Aaron Buru also a chance. Good paneling in Iffy's backdrop, by the way."
Oh,
there you go. And then Free Ranger says, "Iffy on My Kitchen Rules, Jonesy on Big Brother, and Scooter on Dancing with the Stars." I almost got on the second Big Brother. I got down the last 20. And it was between – I really sold this country character. And it was between me and this other guy, and they picked him. Better looking. Had a six-pack. So it was never a chance.
Go for Survivor next year, Jonesy.
Yeah, why not? I know someone who could get me in. I wouldn't laugh. I'd hate it. I'd hate it because I heard that the conditions there were shocking. And that's the beauty of reality TV. You know, cook the people that you're filming so that you get all the gold. So anyway, Wendy Superfan says, "Great news, Sarah Gigante signed for 2 years with Movie Star, Iffy."
Yes, I saw that announced tonight, and I know that she was in talks with GreenEdge, but it never happened. So she's going to be a superstar, but unfortunately, not with us. So 2 years with Movie Star.
Now, I saw also on the stage, Iffy, there was a bit of a spill for the leader with 2K to go. Would have been some nervous moments in the Tarame camp.
Well, not as long as he didn't break anything, because it was inside the 3K to go, and he didn't look to be hurt at all. So he jumped up, and one of his teammates just happened to pull up right next to him, and away they just rode into the finish. But I reckon he'll keep the lead for maybe the next week, actually. Yeah, there's nothing. I don't think anyone's going to be really trying to take it away. But big stage on stage 9. Stage 6 has got a top uphill finish, which could be actually, this is tomorrow's stage. That could be good for Bling, although it might be just a fraction too hard for him. It's about 2 and a bit K, but it give him a good chance anyway.
And I see Bernal has said in Cycling News, rejects the sole leadership position. What's your take, Matty, on Ineos's approach where you have, multiple leaders and, does it really matter at the end of the day in terms of how other teams do their tactics?
Oh, of course it does. That's how you figure out your tactics, by knowing what other teams are going to do. Look, I don't think they've got multiple leaders there this year. I reckon they're riding for Bernal pretty clearly. I mean, Carapaz can't have the form that he's had through the Tour, then Olympics, and then carry that on through the Vuelta. So you put a line through his name. So it's just really Yatesy and Bernal there. But we'll see as time tells. But I think they're going for Bernal.
Yeah, I got a feeling it might be Yatesy. Adam Yates is actually in very good form, and he set himself just for this. He hasn't ridden any other Grand Tour. He set himself for this. And the only reason he's not in front of Bernal now is the 30 seconds he lost in that, stuck behind that crash on stage 2. So he looks very good. He was attacking up the climb the other day. It'll be one of those for sure, whoever's got the form. There's nothing wrong with having a couple of guys. It didn't work for them at the Tour de France, but no matter who they picked at the start of the Tour de France, it was going to work.
Just jumping all over the shop again, in terms of memories that you had during the whole GreenEdge period, Matty, what are some of the ones that really jump out at you, either as a rider or as a DS?
Oh, man. I think all those early days, those first 3 or 4 years were just incredible team to be a part of. I guess, we sort of dreamt our whole careers that we would have an Aussie team at some point, and just to have had that at the end of my career was just an amazing thing to be a part of. The fact that we had such a successful year, it was just like, we couldn't believe it, and for the most part, that has continued every year. Every year's just been it's been amazing as far as results go. But No, I remember back too to some of those early, Tour of Californias and stuff that we did. Went over and just
awesome.
Had a blast and winning stages, and it was just some good times there.
Remember that day I cracked the shits with the mechanic because he ate all those lollies and he denied doing it, and I knew it was him. And then I just remember how good every race gives you like a lunchbox. See, I remember the food. And in California, they give you those big cookies, massive rolls. Like the portion sizes were always out of whack. And then that coffee at the breakfast table, it was like tar. But the caffeine levels were just, you'd be wired for like 4 or 5 hours. The Starbucks. The great days.
I just remember opening glove boxes or little corners of the car, wherever I was, and everything that I opened, lollies would fall out. And Jonesy's been in there just stocking the car up with junk food.
But mate, I can't believe you didn't mention bloody Matty Hayman's Roubaix.
Well, I was about to say that because the vision of that you got in the car was pretty special.
Yeah, and I mean, look, even the Tour de France where they won the team time trial and a couple of stages there, and Darryl and Gero in the yellow jerseys. I wasn't even at that tour, but that just stands out in my mind. It's one of the most unbelievable moments. And I mean, Matty Hayman's Roubaix win was a highlight of my whole career, let alone just the team.
Do you still to this day shake your head going, I still can't believe that happened?
Yep. I still get goosebumps. Just as soon as I start talking about it, I just get goosebumps. It's one of those stories in sport. I don't know that anyone really, except the people that are probably close to it, understand how ridiculous that was, what happened there, and just how, I don't know, fated it was that it was always going to happen. His whole career just sort of moved towards this one point, and this day just happened where, he was just in this zone. It was just, just an amazing thing to witness.
But how close was he to not even getting a start? Wasn't it between him or Chris Juhl-Jensen? Like, can you remember that conversation where you look back now, sliding doors, that could have been huge.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I was talking to Lorenzo Lepage, the director there as well, and deciding what we we're going to do. And it was basically between him and Chris, and we knew what Matty could deliver, for at least half of the race. He's one of the most experienced guys in the bunch, knows the race. He's going to be super valuable to that point, but then he was not going to be there in the back end. There was just no chance. Where Chris would be there in the back end, but be, not as useful throughout the race as Matty would be. So it was a real 50-50 shot. He even got a start.
Mm.
And what swung it Matty Hayman's way? What convinced you in the end?
I don't know. In the end, I can't remember what pushed us over to choose Matty, but like I said, it was a coin flip decision basically.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've watched the bloody backstage pass about 1 million times. Whenever you need a quick pick me up, it's always the Gladiator music that gets me. It's like, every time. But it's that scene when he's off the back and your brain's going, he's going to finish top 5 or 6. Awesome.
Yeah.
Was that the moment when he got back on, the first time you actually entertained, hang on, what is going on here?
There was the only point where I believed he was going to win it was the second that he hit out on that velodrome. The second that he started that sprint, I went, oh my God, he's won it. I just knew immediately at that point that he wasn't going to get beaten. But until that point, I gave him the last person in that group chance of getting that position. So until that point, he was coming third. And then when he's in that final, he was going to be top 10. And then before that, it was maybe he's going to be top 20. I never gave him any chance. But he owned it. He knew that he was going to race it from the heart, and that he had the legs to do it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
I
actually thought he was going to win it. I thought he was going to win it on the approach into the velodrome when he caught Boonen and went by him, and then Boonen tried to get on and couldn't get on, and if he hadn't have. He didn't realise he'd actually had him spat. He would have won it alone, but he just sort of eased that fraction. Boonen got on, then the two of them mucked around. The others got back, but he was the strongest in that little area just before they dropped into the velodrome. It was amazing. When you look back at it, you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a guy that is an overthinker. Like he thinks about everything. Nothing just goes from the gut. It's always thought through and thought about later and everything. And you could see at moments like that he was not thinking it. He just felt that was the time to go and went. Even the time where he attacked solo, 60K to go. Just madness.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story.
Did it at that point? Your faith in the cycling guys would have just been through the roof in terms of writing a script.
Yeah. I was ready to dust off the bike and make a comeback.
You just touched on something there, Matty, which is so true. With Matty Hayman, he used to overthink it too much, and because the Paris-Roubaix was so important in his life, all those years he'd raced it, got better and better at it, but never quite got there. But I used to think he put himself under too much pressure, and for this is the first time he didn't have any pressure on him because of all that happened, and it probably was a blessing in disguise, because if he hadn't had that pressure on it, he probably wouldn't have won it. Oh,
no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. The crash is the best thing that ever happened to him, that head fault crash. So, but even that story, people could comprehend to have broken your arm 6 weeks out and have been the next day on the trainer, and to have trained like he did for something that was technically impossible. Like it was technically impossible. No one could have thought that was like to have even done that and done that work is just mind blowing, let alone actually do it and turn up and win. And that doing that not only gave him a different sort of engine that he'd never had before, because he was rested and that he'd done the intensity and different things like that, but it allowed him to take the pressure off himself and just race.
I can still remember everyone was just so rapt he was starting. Leading into the race, people were patting him on the back going, "Oh, mate, it's great you're going to start. What an effort." And I remember the night before, he looked at me and goes, "Mate, my form, I feel good. I feel good." And I'm like, "Whatever, mate. Yeah, you broke your arm 6 weeks ago. Hey, bloody talking crazy."
I just remember him sitting in the bus, and it was like 10 minutes before the start, and he had his feet up on the back of the seat, and he was just sitting there on his phone laughing and doing a message or something. I'm like, normally he's up and down and moving around and, a lot of nervous energy, but super relaxed. And we had a bit of a chat about it and said, you don't have a lot of attacks in you. So just, if it hasn't gone after about 80 or 90K, just give it one good go. And sure enough, it went 80 or 90K. And at a certain point, he just come back with his jacket and said, "All right, I'm going in the break." Just chucked the jacket in the car and went directly across to the break. It was like, just faded.
I remember being at the finish line there, and there was about 80K to go, and he was in the break, and we were at this having lunch, and my mum was so excited. She was going, "Oh, Matty's in the break. How good?" I said, "Mum, it's just for TV. Yeah, they'll get caught. Don't worry about it." And then, "No, I think he's got a check." Mum, you don't know cycling. Pipe down." Sure enough,
come from you, Jonesy.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, let's have a quick word from the sponsors, and then we'll wrap things up after that. So let's have a quick video from Bike Exchange and the Amy Giller Foundation.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match, but not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for zero cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised and 1 cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate and conscientious. Every cyclist death is preventable and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange, and great words there from the Amy Gillett Foundation. And we're joined by Julian Dean, Team Bike Exchange DS, who's live at the Vuelta at the moment. Thanks for joining us, Jules. How's the mood in the camp, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, Jonesy. Out in Albacete today, heading across towards the Mediterranean. So Albacete, notoriously famous for windy conditions in the Vuelta, often splits coming in here. So there could be some exciting action coming in later.
Well, mate, we've just heard stories from the great Matt Wilson, who's on the show still, and he shared the one about you bidding it at the 11:30 p.m. time trial in 2011. What are your memories of that day?
I remember it was hot. Yeah. Slight misjudgment on my part in that team time trial warm-up there, and paid the price that time again.
Good. Yeah, we've missed you the last couple of days, Jules. Not a bad sprint last night from Michael, but I picked him to win. I thought it was a harder finish than what it turned out to be, and I thought it might have really suited Michael, but it ended up being just a sprinter's finish anyway. And he's just not quite quick enough to beat the fast boys. But again, Mezgets did a brilliant job in getting you right to the right spot.
Yeah, those boys, the whole team did really well. It's a bit of a benign day, really. And then, it was all about the sprint. But as you said, those sorts of sprint, I mean, Michael's up there with those guys, but, he doesn't have that last little bit that those pure sprinters have got. But all the same, it's good ride by Michael. And as you said, Luca, he's did a fantastic job all Tour de France, and he's doing a great job here, and he's certainly showing himself to be one of the best in the world at the moment at that role.
We've got some inside info from the Wheel Wizard. He says, guys, the organisers have mapped the stage for the win 8 times. It has finished in this town. There is only more than 10 riders. There's 3 changes of directions in the last 70 Ks. How big's the win going to be today, Jules?
In the beginning, it's not too significant, but we sort of pretty much stay the same direction. At 50k to go, we take a 90-degree turn to the right into the headwind, and then at 30k to go, so we've got 20k to headwind and 30k to go, we turn left in the wind. It's the strongest point with 30k to go, and it becomes direct crosswind. All big roads today, but when we turn at 30k to go there, that's the wind that's strongest, and it's around 24-25k an hour, which is, you usually say, when it gets around 20k an hour, it becomes quite dangerous in terms of like splitting the race. So when getting above that, 24-25, it's certainly going to be stressful.
Now, who's got your old role? Because you were the wind specialist back in the day, the ability to get the right grass and the right flick in the air. Who have you got up the road for you, given any sort of updates?
We've got Andrew Smith here, who's doing the Barnt course for us and checking out the wind conditions. But technology's upgraded since then. And, budget's allowed for us to invest in some wind meters. So,
wow. No grass in the air. Oh.
Well, Yeah, well, I was really the grass whisperer, you know. I was the only one that had the touch for selecting the right grass. And as much as I tried to teach people, they just didn't get it. So we had to invest in the wind meters.
What's the main focus over the next couple of days, mate, for the team, particularly with these type of stages?
Yeah, I mean, you still got to keep chipping away, and although these like I said, these flat days and big bunch finishes aren't ideal for Michael, you've got to give the guys tasks to do every day, keep them engaged. The wind's the factor today, so making sure we've got good position at critical moments is key. But tomorrow we head down towards Valencia. We've got an uphill 2-kilometre finish tomorrow, and then we've got a couple of real nuggety days that are going to be hard after that. So, the style and the format of the racing is really going to change after today. I think we can see some much more aggressive racing, maybe some more changes in the leaders' jersey coming up in the next few days as well.
Mate, that's your old neck of the woods. You'll have a lot of local support, a lot of insider knowledge.
Yeah, coming tomorrow's stage finishes right down near where I live, sort of about 20 k's away, and then we start in the town where I lived when I was living over in Europe in Gandia. So definitely be a few of the local fans out there cheering the boogeyman on.
Now tomorrow's finish, it's got a 2K climb. Is it too hard for Michael, or could he win on it?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? We've had some pretty good discussion amongst our performance staff the last couple of days about Michael's capacity to be able to win that uphill finish. It was in Vuelta Valencia last year, I think, when Podcar won. So it is a significant climb. It's 2Ks around 8 or 9%. So it's a lot of it's going to depend on how the stage goes beforehand. But we've got to give Michael a chance and try. And if we get him in good position and he has a good run in, there's definitely a chance that he can contest that finish tomorrow.
That sprint, stage 2 Tour de France, the ride he did up that was bloody hard, and he was magnificent that day.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good benchmark. This climb is probably a touch harder than that stage 2 of the Tour de France, but the stage itself is probably a bit easier. So I think definitely. I mean, the one thing we're going to have tomorrow is that the GC guys, I don't think are really going to, they're just going to want to arrive on the climb probably in good position and won't be too stressed about trying to take time out of each other. So it may not be raced full gas that climb, and if that happens, that's certainly going to play in our favour.
You're talking about GC. Who do you think's the real leader of Ineos, Bernal or Adam Yates?
Probably depends who you ask. Probably, I think Adam is definitely going good. He was looking good on that stage 3 there, but I think Bernal has got the track record. He's got the performance over 3 weeks, which Adam has been good on a few occasions, but not the consistency that Bernal has shown.
Yeah. Anything you want to fire into the old boogeyman, Matty?
No, mate. How's it going over
there? Yeah, missing you, mate. Missing you. But things are going well. We've got a new TV in the bus this year, Matt. So the presentation is much better. So you'll be happy to know about that.
Yeah.
You got Wi-Fi yet?
Drop down screen? Drop down screen, or what? Is it a drop down screen?
No, we've just got a bigger TV screen that they've just put down the end of the bus, and it works good. Yeah, so much better pixelations as well. Yep.
Finally.
Yep. That would have been awesome for those fail army videos I used to love cranking up on the drive back. Just people binning it on their BMX bikes and stuff like that. That was always good. Michael Jordan's top 50 highlights. Anyway, hey, we won't hold you up, mate. Anything you want to fire him before he goes, Iffy?
No, great to have you back on board, pal, and look forward to the action today. Good, wish all the boys good luck. Let's hope those winds spring up and we spit those sprinters out the back.
Yeah, we'll do good. Thanks, guys. Catch you next couple of days.
Join you, Jules. See you, mate. Julian Dean, great to have you on the show. Now, before we let Matty go, if you want to talk about, don't mention the Bakerits, please. What do you want to talk about?
I wanted to go before I wanted to go back to those early days, and he did a great stage win in the Bakerits. Now that you reminded me, I think it was Port Arlington, wasn't it? When you had a great win there, Matty, is that right?
It was, yes.
Yeah, but I wanted to go back to the Herald Sun Tour because, of course, you've been a DS with Jerry Ryan's team with GreenEdge Team Bike Exchange as it is now up until this year, but the whole pandemic meant you had to be based back here and it just made it too hard. So you sort of put that on hold and you're running your own team. But let's go back to Herald Sun Tour. Was it 2007? 2007, that's right. And I remember, it was an important race for Jerry. He was the sponsor of it, and you were in his Jayco team. Just take us through that because it was a pretty special time.
Yeah, it was. So I'd had a horrific season. I only did about 30 race days, I think. I just had three separate crashes and broke bones every time. Had a big comeback. And anyway, that was the year that Unibet had folded, the team that I was riding for. And a few other World Tour teams all had folded that year. And I was basically, because I hadn't raced, I was basically left with no contract. So I'd come back to Australia and the Sun Tour was my last race. And I was training really hard for it, and I remember speaking to Cookie about it before, saying I'm actually going really good. Like I feel great. And there was a climb directly out of, I think it started at Bendigo, and there was a 6 or 7K hard climb straight out of town. And I just said to Cookie, I'm just going to go full gas on this first climb and just see who's left at the top. And we did that and got over the top. There's about 10 of us in the group, and that's the group that won the tour. We rode away, and I ended up winning the stage solo into Nagambie, wasn't it? If you'd remember,
I think it was. Yeah. It wasn't Nagambie. Yeah. And I remember there was some drama one day where one of your main opposition, it might have been into Benalla, was it, or Wangaratta? That's right, it was in a Wang, and he got into he used the car into the convoy, and they rubbed him out. So that helped a little bit, if I remember rightly. Who was that? Do you remember?
No, yeah, I think it was in the Wangaratta, if I remember. Yeah, but we were going for time bonuses because it was so close against his Dutchie, and there's a lot of Aussies, all pros that were there in different teams, and everyone was rooting for me to win. So we're coming into these time bonuses, and I had like a 9-man lead out, and it was like Cookie was there, and then McEwen and Gatesy, and we had Henk Vogels, and all these top All Tour pros just lining the bunch out, leading me out for these time bonuses. I could barely get over the wheel to get the seconds. And then at one of those particular ones, we actually dropped the Dutchie, and then that's when he used the cars and got rubbed. So it was a bit rough on the poor Dutchie.
Never had a chance.
I remember it all came down to the final day in at the gardens there off St Kilda Road, and they had a time trial and then the final stage. And so the time trial, individual time trial around there, only a short one, but I remember that put a lot of pressure on you because you weren't a bad time trial, but wasn't your specialty. You were a bit nervous on the start line there, I remember.
I was really nervous. The best thing that happened to me there was it was on road bikes. You weren't allowed to ride time trial bikes. So, and I wasn't a good time trialist. So I didn't ride my time trial bike at all, but I was good on the road bike. So I just remember just doing every corner 150 times until I knew exactly how fast I could go through it, and just took every shortcut I could to just save every second. And yeah, I can't remember how much I beat him by in the end, but it wasn't much. It's a handful of seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. I remember Jerry being so excited. That he was sponsoring the race and it was his rider that won. But B, because it was you, it was even more special. So I remember it being a really, really special day. And I remember Val being just even more excited than Jerry. It was a pretty special day, actually.
Yeah, it was. I remember coming across the line in the time trial and Cookie was crying, jumping up and down in the middle of the road. And my whole family was there. And I actually saw photos of it recently and Jerry was handing me the trophy. I just couldn't believe how young I looked but how young Jerry looked too. Like we're both we've aged 40 years since then.
Hey,
Jerry, if you're listening.
So give us a bit more insight in what you're doing now, because you're not just helping sort of supporting these young riders, you're also looking to do some events as well, yeah?
Yeah, so with the pandemic, I mean, last year I did be away for sort of 3.5 months from the family, and it was just not really, it was not possible to do it this year. So sort of one door closes and another one opens, and it's just given me a great chance to dig into my development team, which is here, which is the Australian Cycling Academy, and spend some more time on that. And we're able to branch into some events as well, which is exciting. I've got to get my head read sometimes going into events in a pandemic, but the first one almost went off without a hitch. That was the Noosa Enduro, and then we've got another one coming up in towards the end of the year in December, which is an NRS tour called Cycle Sunshine Coast.
You got a website you want to plug, Matty?
Yeah, you can jump on acacycling.cc. And you'll see the events. You'll see Cycle Sunshine Coast on there, and then Noosa Enduro is just noosaenduro.com. It's a mountain bike and gravel event, which is pretty spectacular here in Noosa.
Good stuff, mate. Well, I'm sure you're going to be successful because you've had a great cycling career, and both as a rider as a DS. No doubt, whatever you touch is going to turn to gold, mate.
Thanks, James.
John, you, Matty. Yeah.
Hey, mate.
Great having you on the show, pal.
Great having you on the show, Matty. Fantastic. Great reliving some of the old memories and that there, and we'll no doubt check in again soon, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Good on you, Matty.
Right, mate.
All right, mate.
Matty Wilson, absolute legend. Now, a bit of housekeeping, Johnny. We've got the silent auction that we want to talk about. And before we do, let's show a quick clip from to just paint the picture of where you could be.
We're gonna need someone to do a voiceover with this, because I'm sure people who are doing the podcast who aren't watching it are going,
we'll get Phil to do it.
Going on here?
We'll get Phil to do it.
We will. We'll get Phil to do a little voiceover.
Actually, we'll put it out there. Can you please write a script, and we'll get Phil to read it. Saves us having to do it. But anyway, if you are watching this, enjoy the images from the Amila Resort in the Maldives. Now, I've got news updated because a few people have asked, what are the details of what's being offered? And it's the poolside Villa Resort room, and it's for 5 nights, and it's for 2 people. And Jace, he's a great guy. He said, look, if you've got 2 kids, we can accommodate them as well. And it's valid till 19th of December 2022. But if there are dramas, and with the pandemic and you can't get there, I'm sure if you talk to them, you'll be able to work something out. There's not a problem. So
I've had a couple of inquiries who were asking for a bit of those details, and also asking if airfares were included. I said, no, they're not included. But so I've had a couple of other people wanting to get these classified. So I'm sure we'll get some more people applying bids. As we say, at the moment, it's up to $2,000. But hey, it won't be going for that. It is valued at $13,000 Australian.
Over 13.5. So email john@cyclingevents.com.au, and of course, we're trying to raise money for the Careca Foundation. That's kareka.co.za/Peloton. Join Phil's Peloton. It's a great cause. Is there any other? So when are we going to start giving away tickets to Amy's Grand Fondo, Iffy?
Yep, we're going to do that in the next couple of days. You and I have to talk to Katie Brown tomorrow, do a little bit of housekeeping, but she wants to offer some. And as we brought up last night, we are going to get a detour Peloton. The Detour Desperates or something. I can't remember. It was called something else, I think. At Amy's Grand Fondo, the Amy Gillett Great Ocean Road Grand Fondo. So anyone who wants to enter, jump on board to Amy's ride.
amygillett.org.au.
Yep. Anyone who enters and wants to be a part of our Detour Desperates, we'll have a lot of fun. We're going to get some jerseys made up, Nicks also, if people want them.
It's going to be a laugh. It's definitely going to be a laugh for sure. I mean, if I'll get on an e-bike and I probably won't walk for a week, but I'm willing to do it for a good cause. Great ride. Get involved. Thanks again, Iffy. Thanks to Matty Wilson. Thanks to Julian Dean. It's a great show. Who's your final pick for the stage tonight, John?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's going to be one of the sprint boys. I actually think that he can make Fabio can make it 2 in a row. But if the winds really do spring up, it could be a Michael Matthews. But I'm hoping for Michael Matthews tomorrow night.
All right. Well, stay tuned. We'll be back again at the normal time tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And as we always say, I should have said it at the top of the show. I will tomorrow. Like, share, subscribe. YouTube.com/The Detour Podcast. Thanks again for your support, guys. Keep telling your mates. Keep spreading the word. It does help, and we do appreciate it. See you tomorrow.